Want to hang out and drink tea?
So that's what we're here for. Today I have a really amazing guest. Lester is a musician. I was trying to think, what should I make Lester? I don't know if I've ever made the Koucha Zairaishu for you.
Yeah, that's nice.
Welcome to JagaVision. I'm your host, Nyberg. This is something like, we're almost at 150 episodes.
Wow.
Today I have a really amazing guest, Lester Quitzau. Lester is a musician. Amazing show we saw you at Herman's the other day. That was pretty dope. And you've won some Juno Awards, and you play some amazing blues, and you're a big tea junkie.
Next thing you know, here you are.
And then you wake up and
you're drinking some of the most awesome tea in the world.
There you go. Yeah. Do you want to maybe tell people a little bit about yourself, or if I maybe there's you were in a band as well, traveling the world.
Tricontinental.
Tricontinental.
With a guy from Madagascar. Madagascar Slim was his name.
Nice.
Is his name Bill Bourne? And he's recently passed, so we're not traveling anymore.
Right.
Grateful to still be just amazed with music, and I keep trying to figure out how to play guitar.
How do I?
It's never ending.
It's just
like brewing that perfect cup of tea.
You just keep on going. I was really impressed with your setup when you came and you did a show at JagaSilk. Of course, I'm really fascinated by the whole musical endeavor, and just seeing you use almost an entire board for a guitar and voice and a bit of percussion, and you were just you were layering in different microphones and preamps and different different warm kind of tone enhancers, almost they would just really help with the warmth, and that was just tone. Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, it was really.
And I see the same things in tea frequencies. I have pots that take the high end, the edge off, and it's so cool. You can look at things the same way. Yeah.
This is a Julie, and it's a type of clay that reduces by 30% in the kiln. Told.
I see.
And so you lose something like 10, if not 20% of what you fire just to cracks and breakage.
Right. Yeah.
Even experienced potters.
Yeah.
And then
it's just the way it is.
It's just the way it is. And then a number of the ones that make it are too warped to sell.
Right.
But to have a nicely shaped Julie, I was learning, this is all knowledge I'm learning from Daniel over at the Chinese tea shop. But
I remember reading about that.
Yeah. Last time we were in Vancouver, we had to get one. So I figured we could make tea with it. But it's interesting when you do those side-by-side comparisons, and you can, like you're saying, it takes the edge off, and I've always felt like for my music project, Truth and Dolphin, I do the mixing, and I really enjoy that process of just kind of working with different sounds, and it's really interesting occupying, for example, the same territory. The sound will get muddled, so separating out the sounds so that they occupy different territories and sort of the sound spectrum makes them all enhance. And I feel like there's definitely a parallel when we're brewing our tea. Like if we want to bring out some fruit, or say sort of florality and bitterness is an interesting example. You have too much intensity of that florality and it becomes incredibly bitter to the point where it can be unpleasant. But if you can just curb that a little bit, then suddenly you have this really enjoyable aromatic. And it's just about intensity rather than there or not there, So I find that super interesting. It's like trying to get the djembe to sound good is such an interesting challenge for audio, because it takes up some of the same percussive space as the guitar. And so trying to get that to come out as its own sound is quite that's a challenge I don't actually know the answer to right now. That's something the masterer does.
Keep working it.
Keep on working it.
Once in a while you totally get lucky,
and it just just from the get-go, hey? Yeah. And then sometimes it's a lot of tweaking. So you play electric guitar, No, acoustics
yeah.
mostly. You were on
6 strings.
6 strings. Okay, yeah.
Slide guitar.
You strike, like, just meeting you and talking to you the first time, I was imagining, I don't know why, but a different sound than what I heard.
Right.
And then I was like,
interesting.
yeah, it's just, I don't know why, but I was thinking more like acoustic soundscapes.
Right.
And then I'm hearing some pretty wild, awesome stuff, like some pretty out there avant-garde jazz.
It's awesome about music. You can express parts of yourself that don't get expressed too often. Like Jimmy was just soft, gentle guy, and then get a guitar on stage, he's just fierce, it's just the energy that
just go for it. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, while we're talking, why don't we drink tea at the same time?
And that's the idea. I just want to hang out and drink tea.
So that's what we're here for. So I was trying to think, what should I make Lester? So Lester's comes by to the tea bar here and there for tea whenever you're in Victoria and can make it happen, right? So the matcha I think I've made for you, and I'm happy to make it again. But I don't know if I've ever made the Koucha Zairaishu for you. No. And so the Koucha Zairaishu, so that's the a Japanese crimson tea. So crimson tea in North America is called black tea. And
China, the red tea.
Red tea or crimson tea.
I like
crimson's
that.
nice, right? Yeah, it's
so I like that.
And so we always call our black teas crimson tea.
Yeah.
And then what we call our teas, such as pu'er, is a true black tea because they use the character for black at origin in China, Japan, South Korea even. If it's not, of course, from the correct region, it can't be a pu'er, but there is the whole genre of true black teas, which in North America we have to call dark tea as a genre. But yeah, this is a nice one because we've actually gone to Mandokoro, which is where this is from, and we've had a great time hanging out with the Kawakami family. They only produce 18 kilos a year. It's all hand harvested, carefully rolled. They use a machine for the rolling process, so that's about it for machinery. Before they roll it, though, they're drying it in raised beds, blasting it with air. They actually weigh the entire batch that they're processing at one go.
Wow.
They'll weigh it on like a big sort of analog scale with, like the old school scales. It's like this really old unit.
With the weights and
to
see what the water content is.
And then they see, they make sure that they get it to a certain point before they start rolling it. So it's not, many farmers will do things, they do a combination of mass and feel. What's interesting also about their process is the actual area that they're producing tea has been producing tea for over 500 years. And they used to, apparently the story is that their tea was used was served to one of the unifiers of Japan, Hideyoshi, back in the warring period where they were unifying the country.
Red tea seems to be what I spend most time
hanging out with,
drinking and figuring out. Maybe it's the boldness. It's
very warming. I like a lot of cliff teas too.
Yeah. I'm dabbling into the oolong.
The world of oolong. I confuse people when I call cliff teas oolongs. They are technically, but to the oolong, so the cliff tea fan, they're their own genre.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
I can understand where they're coming from, but from
you can get some red tea, cliff tea, red tea. That's exceptional.
We literally have some on our menu right now. We call it Red Wuyi, and it's from an abandoned farm. In Wuyi Mountain.
I've got some.
Oh yeah.
Abandoned farm.
Yeah, we made it into a kombucha as well.
Yeah. Had some of that at the tea symposium.
Oh yeah. Yeah, my dad was serving up some liquid goodness.
Oh yeah.
Out of the bottle. Yeah. Did you see him with his little doggy?
No.
And the cowboy hat?
I probably did, but I didn't.
Oh, yeah, he's great. Yeah, that's definitely where a lot of the musical encouragement has come from.
Awesome.
Sir.
That looks lovely.
It's the first of many infusions.
Yeah.
It's really old rootstock, like 100-year-old trees, and whenever they get to a point where they can't really produce flavor, they chop them right down to the roots and let them grow.
And let them sprout out because they're strong. Just like we got old apple trees that have come down, cut them off in our orchard, and then the suckers, the branches, they just want to keep living. Everything wants to live, you know.
It's pretty beautiful.
Yeah.
That's what the leaves look like.
Nice. Almost looks like a Taiwanese.
Yeah, right?
Nice. Aromatic.
There you go.
That's good stuff.
So that's the leaves.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Picture that.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I love looking at the end of the session, you know, looking at the leaves. That's what tells the story, what it was and what it is.
You know, if there's one thing, so I don't really, have you ever had used a cupping kit for cupping tea? Like
the formal...
the formal one, like one of these?
No, I haven't.
So
but I've seen them.
I'll show that to the camera too. So that's these, and it has like this.
So everything's neutral.
Everything's neutral. So it's all glazed, and even like the weight of the clay and the dimensions are decided by ISO standards.
Wow.
And you are supposed to put in 1.5 or 3 grams, depending on the style, into this guy. Fill it up with boiling water.
And how many ounces is that?
And then you drop like this.
Huh.
And it drains. And you're looking at about 3 ounces.
Right.
And then when you're done, what's kind of cool about it is you flip it upside down like this, and then you get to hang out with the leaves, and you cup with a cupping spoon, and you can see the spent leaves. And it does definitely tell a story. But and I think that it gives you, kind of like when we're cupping for milling our tea for matcha, drawing out flaws lets you know how you need to interact with the tea a little bit.
Yeah.
So that you can either, well, ideally reduce the sensation of those flaws for sure. But
or enhance the characters.
But it definitely,
I like brewing the same tea over a period of a week, and then it's like
a week
getting to know a friend.
Right.
Not the same tea,
not the
but
same
the same
leaf.
type.
Oh, okay. Yes. Okay.
Same
yeah.
type, right?
Yeah. And then you kind of like learn, and it's like, is this good?
It's like hanging out. Get to know.
I've been getting, so Michael Lee, you were talking about Michael Lee, him and Daniel when they were here at the tea festival, were telling me their system for brewing this kind of tea.
This kind of red tea.
This kind of red tea is well, actually, we were doing it with a Milan Shun, so I guess maybe it's going to be different. But I feel like there's a lot of similarities in this like intense perfumey quality.
Yeah.
Was to put in like anywhere from 8 to 12 grams
in a little pot like that. Yeah.
So today I put in 10 grams.
Okay.
I put it right in the middle.
Because I thought I was going big with usually 6 to 7 grams.
Right.
For a cup like that.
For like this holds about 100 mils.
100?
Yeah. 120.
120. Yeah. That's what I got a 120 little silver pot.
Okay.
Which is nice for red teas. It's like cranks everything up. Everything's brighter. And if there were some gnarly little edge to it, it would be cranked up too. So you don't use it for all teas. So
okay.
My silver pot.
Yeah,
but it's like in the audio, it's like boosting everything, right?
It just like does it like, that'd be interesting for a tea that has low acid.
Yeah.
Like if you have something that's just like struggling to bring in a bit of tannin to the front, it might be. They used a lot of silver back in the day. Like it was a very sought after material for brewing.
It's got a nice lots going on.
I get a nice kind of like toasted sugar in the nose. Yeah. And this was you and I, we actually went to like I was saying, like we visited these guys, but one of the things that was really cool was to actually harvest the tea with them and to follow the whole process and to kind of to just kind of go through that whole the whole process. And we were doing,
and how you can shape shape it by lengthening this time and that time.
Yeah, and it was really
Smell.
fun to watch them really be careful, because we also watched like a different farmer who was doing everything by feel. And putting when they were doing the oxidation, these guys were putting it actually in a tank meant for commercial nutto fermentation.
Right.
So it allowed them to control the humidity and the temperature and all that, just like making yogurt.
Yeah.
And so they were able to like really nail the time. And then from there, they were putting it into like I don't know if you've ever seen shelf roasters, but they're like they look like dehydration units.
Just levels and shells.
Yeah, but they have gas flame from underneath that's cooking and firing the leaves at the end. You also see a lot of drum roasters like that, where people are firing like that. But
most pictures I've seen.
the older units are like a shelf unit, and they're actually moving the shelves around
With
as
bamboo
well.
trays
Yeah.
up and down.
What time were we up? Were we up at 6 o'clock? Well, the session was from 6. So we would wake up, and it was from 6. So we were out there harvesting 6 to 6. They said, okay, you're coming out to help 6 to 6.
Yeah.
We were supposed to do it for 3 days, but I think we did it I think it was over the first day we were there, which was a little bit disappointing because they had to start a little bit before we got there. But that's okay. That's how the plants, they're not going to listen to a plane ticket, right? But I think when we went over, we were like, is it ready yet? And because we're going to come over, because it was based off of the previous year's averages. And they're like, no, this year it's a little late. So we actually had to call and delay our flights for the plants.
Right.
So that we could show up at the right time. And then one of the tea farmer's sisters, Mr. Kawakami's sister, I think. Was it Mr. Kawakami's sister? I think. Yeah. She had a little inn, and we got to stay at the inn. And she was making breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and we stayed in this room. It was like an older inn from like 1970s or something.
Wow.
And it was really, really cool. Just kind of hanging out. She made beautiful food. It was very like warm, like home cooked kind of feel. And we had our own like massive tatami room. Like it was just like, I guess normally they have a lot of guests and they can kind of division off like back in the day. And then she's just not been really, it's not been her main gig anymore. It's also kind of sad because in a lot of these tea making villages, you see a huge decline in population. And the average age in this particular village is over 70.
Yeah.
So you don't really see.
It's just an older thing.
Yeah. So they don't really have. I mean, we were talking before we went on the show about Pender and how there's people that will go there and they just don't have the population to support some really creative
What's
ideas.
going on?
And
Yeah.
maybe things are starting
ideas
to change
it's
a little
getting
bit.
busy. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Everything comes with a price. We like it quiet. Not too many people in traffic.
Yeah.
But the commerce people, they want traffic and people.
Yeah. That's hard, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, that's.
But nothing stays the same ever for very long. So, yeah.
The only thing constant in this world is change.
Constant change.
Yeah, that's
That's
right.
a lyric of one of my songs way back when. Nothing's as constant as constant change.
That's awesome. That's good.
Yeah.
What is the song called?
Feel the way I do.
Nothing's as constant change. Why I feel this way? Why I feel strange.
Feel the way I do. Okay. So anybody watch Feel the Way I Do. It'll be good times. Be good times.
Yeah, that's nice.
It's getting.
I've never had a Japanese crimson tea.
Never. I
No.
thought I was hoping.
But I went to a site once and they had all kinds of red teas or crimson, but I never did buy any. But a friend of mine just swears by Japanese red teas because they just take things to such a
They were really careful. Yeah, they were really careful. It was all very analog, but it was so careful. Like they were using analog measuring tools. Like even the thermometer, Mr. Kawakami and his 70 plus awesomeness, they're so healthy too. Like they're just I don't know. Like I imagine 75 years old and a person is not going to be, 6 until 6 harvesting tea really quickly and processing it and carrying big. I want to be that 75-year-old, but I just don't see a lot of them in my immediate.
Yeah, me too.
So
I think the key is doing what they do and continuing to do it.
Movement. You know, I've probably my big eureka moment or philosophy for 2023 has been movement. And just like, you know, when something like that's when bacteria and disease builds, is when movement stops.
Right.
You know, and that's also important. Like that the cessation of movement is an important part of being alive, because it is death. Right? It is disease. It is, because the breakdown of something and it falling apart
stops.
It's just the other side of the circle. You have the birth, and then you have the death. And I guess it's just, I think that way sometimes with my business or with my music, that if I stop, then it's the beginning of the decline. And that's okay. It's not like a fear, right? It's just that it's almost like an objective, okay, you know, pauses are fine. They are a certain kind of death though. And it's a beautiful death. So then it allows for like a phoenix moment where you can then like draw on some new inspiration, and you can create, and you can do something really new. So death doesn't mean the end. It's just, maybe it's too harsh of a word even. I don't know.
Yeah, or its shape or form changes. It's just, you can see death as the end of that form.
Yeah.
And then that energy, if it's neither created nor destroyed, moves into something else. So even your music or something, you stop doing it, but that energy that you put into it, for one thing, everything that we do carries on. Like, so every song, I love this, the spirits, every song ever sung still sings, because that vibration still goes up there. So everything we do is a vibration.
Yeah, I guess if you think about like stars and light from other planets and stuff, and like the way that the energy just sort of like emanates from millions of years ago and then it hits our eyes. Yeah. You could say the same thing with sound. The sound, it just like continues and reverberates and continues and hits some sort of like cosmic level. And it lives in memory, but also in like this sort of sound wave, continuous, beautiful form, you know, and the birth and death can be as simple as a song written and completed, as an album created and released, as a tea enjoyed, created. There's going to be the end of this tea. In that form, in the pot, that energy, that batch, that year, that whole thing, you know, and the work of the farmer, all the energy that they put in, you take that in, right? That's what I love about it. But it continues, and it like builds on an essence. Yeah, it just continues. Yeah, so it's like this cyclic thing. So death always ends up, I think, when we think about it, it's this kind of macabre or harsh sort of like very cold thing, but winter precedes spring, you know, and spring precedes summer, and then summer precedes fall, you know, so it's just it's all just looping, right? It's awesome. Yeah. So here's to death. Here's to death. There you go. Because death precedes life. Yeah, we just change form. Yeah, but I do though. Sometimes I struggle with that perspective, because I am again with the company where I'm just like right now we're going through a period where we're really simplifying things, and the things that we did do before we're no longer doing. Yeah, you did a lot. Yeah, and then it's just like really looking at what's important. So it's I think though it's like pruning a tree. You make space for fruit, and if you don't ever prune that tree, that's also one way of being. Yeah. And that's perfectly fine. Yeah. You know, but it depends on where you're at, I guess. You know, you want to eat fruit or not? Yeah. You know, do you want to eat fruit or not? You want to eat fruit, it's probably a good idea to do some pruning here and there. Pruning. Yeah. To produce the fruit. Yeah, and I personally want to make more space for my musical journey, but I also find that through simplifying the company, we can focus more on the core pieces that we find really inspiring and meaningful. Yeah. Because I think sustainability in a project and being able to continue a project is created or sort of powered through meaningfulness, right? If something isn't meaningful, it becomes really challenging to continue to do it. And sometimes it's just finding that meaning. It's there, but you need to find it.
Yeah. Well, that fuels it, that positive energy, doing something you love. It's just like you do what you love, it's effortless. You find that. And after a while, you can't. So when you're younger, you got all this vim and vigor, and you can go out and do all kinds of things. But after a while, you really got to hone in on what's really going smoothly, and because you're limited. And so I think when you focus on one thing, you specialize, you get really, really good at that. So it's a distillation, I think. Mm-hmm. So your company or whatever, you do the things you love, and whoa, all these things. It'll get easier, and then I think you'll get better at those few things instead of being a jack of all trades kind of thing.
But you're an interesting individual, in that. So you have this like very decades long career in music, right? And yet you sometimes I talk to you and you talk about kind of a dream of doing a tea house on Pender, where you could like bring visitors, and and maybe this will bear fruit.
Yeah,
it's even more meaningful. But like I'm in a position where I've been doing this tea company for a really long time.
You want to go out and tour?
Yeah, I know. Isn't that funny?
Yeah, it is funny. That's funny.
Yeah, it's just like there's a certain irony almost. Yeah. It's great. So you're like what has allowed you to continue?
I'll wear your suit and we'll
switch clothes and then I'll just go. Yeah, that's good. That's good. What do you draw from? Because I saw you at Herman's, and it wasn't that long ago. It was like October? Yeah. November.
4.
Yeah, so November, we saw you, and you were just like, you had it going on. Like, it was just like a very, like, it wasn't like, I don't know. Sometimes you can watch somebody who's tired with their music project.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And you didn't.
It's getting easier and better.
You didn't seem that way at all. You seemed like
more fun.
Yeah, like it was fun. There was good energy. Like I felt really like inspired afterwards, and it was not a tired performance at all. How do you
tired?
Have you had how do you keep that vim and vigor for your music alive?
We're not playing 6 nights a week, 3 weeks in a row kind of thing. So I mean, when you're on tour, it's really hard physically. You're in a different place. You got travel days. Uh-huh. But the music, the spirit, it's amazing. You play really well when I'm tired sometimes, because there's no energy to waste on distraction. You hone in on the music, and that's it, right? So I don't know. But I love playing music more than ever. The opportunities, it's gotten harder to sustain a career and be busy and touring out there all the time and getting the gigs.
And a very important person in your trio had passed away.
Yeah.
And that must have played a role as well to kind of
totally.
Look at like, okay, what do I do?
Yeah. But I love music more than ever. And what I work on now, and it's just like brewing tea, it's after a while, the only thing you can change is yourself. And so how I play and when I play, I don't waste any energy on trying to be anything other than the moment than I am or what the moment needs, And so you just listen to the guys, listen to where the music wants to go, and just go there with it. That's my goal now. Whereas when I was younger, I think you're trying to make it something. You're trying really hard, so it gets easier.
Interesting. Okay. How do you stay innovative with that mindset? It makes it even more innovative because you're kind of jumping on the rainbow, or do you find that if you take a sort of go with the flow approach, does that make it so that you end up exploring similar territory and not new territory? Not that that's a bad thing, because there's so much depth in the similar territory as well.
Well, the songs, I tend to play the same, not the same songs, but I play them differently every time.
Right.
It's like having the same tea,
Yeah.
but it's different every time. And then you use a different pot. There's a different room. There's a different crowd. So it's always different. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's a beautiful thing, that's for sure.
Okay. So it's just recognizing, I guess, that there is there's no reason to even be wary of it getting tired, as long as you keep, I guess, a perspective. It's almost like
Just stay open to.
It's meditative.
Yeah.
It's very like, hey, you
Yeah.
know, like I'm in a. It's a very spiritual thing then, right? Because it's finding that every pot of tea, every song. You know, Denzel Washington, really great actor. He actually said something that really stuck with me when I was younger, which was, you know, every time he says a line for a recording, he tries to find a different way to say it.
Right.
So he's always like an inflection here, or like a
Yeah.
tone change here, or he's always every single time. So sometimes they'll do 100 times of the same scene, and he's constantly changing it. And I love doing that with recordings. Like when I'm recording music, I love, like, every time I do it, there's just something I'm trying to do a little bit differently. And I imagine that when you're doing the 6 shows in a week, 3 weeks in a row or months on end,
Yeah.
that process perhaps could get more and more challenging. But maybe it's the opposite. Maybe it just gets, because you're in it so much.
Yeah. It can go both ways. You can sort of, you try to do something different with it, but the foundation gets more solid as you play the same song every night.
Mm-hmm.
So the band gets like kind of like a machine,
Right.
but not in a bad sense. It's
Right.
just like, it's this thing that's just effortless. As long as you keep it alive, you know, with the spontaneity. Bill Bourne, the guy in Tricontinental that's passed, I mean, he always liked to shake it up and just pull out a song we've never played before, stuff like that, you know, and just keep us on our toes. He didn't like it when it got comfortable and we were like a machine.
Yeah.
I'm sort of somewhere in the middle. I do like the comfort so that we have a solid foundation to improvise and solo over and stuff like that, you know.
I guess it's getting scared sometimes where you have no idea what's going on.
Jump off a cliff together. Yeah. I mean, it's a good thing.
Do you ever do that to this day? Just play a song randomly that you haven't played in, like, say, like 10 years or something? You're just feeling it?
Yeah. Or just start a jam and just see where it goes, you know. And the guys that play with here at Herman's, Damien and Scott, Damien Graham, Scott White, I mean, they're up for that, you know.
That's cool.
We just, that night you saw, I mean, a lot of it, we're just making all that stuff up within the basic structure of the song. It's like a jazz
One of my favorite
approach to folk music.
do you know Oliver? I think we talked about Oliver maybe. The Icelandic musician.
Oh yeah,
Oliver Arnolds.
I've heard about him.
He always has the beginning of his songs
Yeah,
set, so they're just the start.
the start point.
And that's
then we
it.
jump
And then
off
he
the
just
cliff.
goes, and every performance is something.
Yeah.
And he has the piano and some strings, and then they just go for a ride.
Everyone just listen. You jump off the cliff together. There's nothing like it.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's really cool. You know, so
nobody gets hurt, really. Not like sports. I don't like sports.
People get hurt.
That's right.
We when we're doing our matcha project, because that's been our focus for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'll be into Japanese crimsons, or I'll be going into this cliff tea world, and then it's always interesting because to loop back to it has because we're almost 20 years focused on matcha.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a long time.
Yeah.
And to come back to it and be like, okay, how do I refine that?
Mm-hmm.
I find really helps that sort of like that essence that keeps the candle burning.
Yeah.
Is I think this exploration into other worlds, actually, it's a huge benefit for that process.
Right.
You know,
Brings you back into
like I
what
love
attracted you to that in the first place.
And I love a good cheese, a good wine, a good coffee. I love a good cliff tea. I love a good matcha. I love a good red tea. And I like to also look at how all these craft processes have parallels. So we're talking a lot about the parallels between music and tea, between sound and flavor. But it's also really interesting to just kind of explore. And I can imagine again in music that exploring different genres of sound and even different instruments and reforming those sounds and structures. And this same tea, for example, in this Jilu is going to be very different from making it in the Gaiwan. It's going to be very, whenever I have them in the cupping cups, I've never had a tea in a cupping cup that makes me really excited.
Really?
Yeah. So I just stopped.
It's just a way of assessing it, but at the same time, still, if it doesn't do something for you, like,
I think I'm just not doing it right. Because there's people that do it all the time, and that's how they. But whenever
judge a tea, though.
Yeah.
But maybe that's not how they enjoy a tea. Right?
Yeah, likely. Yeah, I end up.
I think judges aren't enjoying it. They're just trying to size it up and put it into words or describe it.
That's my weapon of choice.
Yeah.
For
it's neutral, but
yeah. For when I'm assessing teas, I don't normally assess a tea in an Yixing.
Right.
And for our audience in
because it
Yixing,
affects it. Yeah.
the clay.
You want a neutral. Start with a point of reference.
Yeah.
And then you can adapt.
Because the Yixing, of course, is like the silver teapot is going to. I find that it curbs tannin.
Yeah.
So it allows me to have really high doses like I'm doing right now.
Yeah, and smoothen it out.
Yeah, because are you tasting an overwhelming tannic expression?
It's there. The intensity's there, but it's not edge.
It's
like
not.
It's comfortable.
Right? Yeah.
It's nice.
I think that the teapot is playing a huge role in producing that flavor.
If we were to use that much amount of tea in a little silver pot, it would probably be over the top.
Probably.
Yeah. Or you'd have to just couple seconds, boom. But then you wouldn't get the depth.
I do that with the Jaom, that Bhutanese dark tea, the oak ash fermentation. We do these like 3, maybe 5 second extractions. Yeah.
Then you've got a long, really wide spectrum.
Yeah. And you don't really see, like even in Japan, I'm not seeing people make their Koucha, their crimson tea this way at all.
No.
It's more like.
And most shops and tea people don't recommend that much tea.
No.
Like to the general public.
But I think it's
intense.
It's the way to go.
Yeah.
I love it this way.
I might up my game a little bit.
Yeah, and start adding a bit more. It does help you go through the botanical a little bit more.
Yeah, it depends on the tea too, though.
Yeah.
Because I got this
100%.
purple tea. It's so intense that it's too edgy. So you got to use less tea.
Yeah, that
cooler
Bhutan
water.
The Jaom is the same. I can't use when I start using like similar amount of tea, like mass wise. It's just it gets overwhelming, and that's through the oak ash ferment. It's very alkaline.
Right.
So it actually ends up making you feel like, okay, I'm kind of changing something in my stomach that's actually not very pleasant.
Right.
But if I have less of it, or another way to get around that is to just do what they do in Bhutan, which is they boil it for 4 hours.
Right.
And then they put it as a base for a butter tea.
Right.
So that's
with some butter.
Yeah.
Because it's so intense. Yeah.
There you go. Cool.
Yeah, I've been boiling my teas. The spent pu'ers, keep them in a jar, and then when I do my work day, my truck driving gig, I boil it, and get one more thing out of it. Good tea is more economical because you get more out of it.
I hear that a lot. Yeah, that's what we tell ourselves.
Yeah, that's what I tell my wife when I buy
like
tea.
a $200 white tea, and you're like, oh, it's actually saving
You're
us
gonna
money.
get 10 steepings out of it, honey. It's gonna be
right. That's what's going on here, right? Like you're tasting, like that's getting a little softer.
Yeah.
I heard
it's more of a journey for sure.
But for me, my sort of eureka moment for loose tea in general was gyokuro made in a style called susuricha, shizukucha, And it's where you use 40°C water for 4 minutes over a whole pile of leaf and very little water in a little tiny teapot that's flat.
So that's almost like
That's what it looks
cold
like.
brew.
Yeah.
wow.
So
That's a gyokuro.
yeah. This is for making gyokuro, and this just changed my like I think at that time in my life I was in my 20s. And Mew and I were into espresso and matcha.
60s now.
Me now? Oh, I'm 300. Yeah. It's been just drink a
You're
lot.
aging well. It's
Drink a lot of
amazing.
tea. Drink a lot of tea.
That's the key, folks.
Yeah.
It's the more tea you drink, the younger you get.
That's reverses. Yeah. No, I'll be an infant in no time.
We head back to the beginning.
That's right. And then we're going to restart this conversation.
Yeah.
We're just going to keep looping. It's going to be good. It's going to be good.
It's like Groundhog Day.
That's right. Yeah. I have this, normally I would make somebody a green tea, before I make them a red tea.
Yeah, to work into the depth.
But I have this, really strong desire to, what's our time like? What's your time like? Do you have time for a matcha? Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. I need a matcha.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. So we're gonna do that. So I'm gonna move everything off of the table here.
Yeah. Oh, gyoko.
So.
Are you gonna grind that up fresh?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Oh.
Okay.
I could sure tell the difference.
Yeah.
Between them.
The fresh milled.
Well, but I've never had this.
So this is the tencha, and I figured that we're gonna do a part 2. We're gonna do a part 2 on Pender Island. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I won't be able to do this.
No.
So I figure we should probably do this while I have you.
Yeah.
And so what I'm doing here is I'm showing you how we cup tencha. Basically what I'm doing is I'm putting boiling water. Again, this is what I don't believe in, right? And I am putting 5 grams for 150 mils, so 1 gram for every 30 mils. And then what we do is when we hit a minute, we're going to have you use this here, and you're going to lift up. Here, I'll get that out of the way. You're going to lift up, and we're almost there. We're at 30 seconds, and you're gonna basically
Do it?
not yet. Once this hits 1 minute, you're gonna scoop underneath, and you're gonna go right in there, and you're gonna smell. And that gives you your aromatic check. And then you're going to just use that to just sort of gently scoop the pile of leaves and tap it into here. And you don't necessarily need a. Yeah. Okay, you can go now. Yeah. Okay. So get right in there. Smell. You get the chocolate. And
Oh my God.
the nice aromatics, and it just gives you a sense of. So this is how we
What's
do
to come?
Yeah, this is how we do the tencha assessment, and then after.
Then you tap it down.
Yeah, empty it out,
Whoa,
and then
that's amazing.
there we go, and then you want to get in and just keep doing that. So just scoop as much out as you can. And then that's just going to give you a really nice, it's going to give you a really nice sense of the aromatics. And then as it's going, of course, that's going to develop. If you can smell the sweetness.
Yeah, it's getting sweeter. A little bit more like seaweed.
Yeah, and that's giving you a sense that this tea has a lot of umami when you can smell that sweetness. Yeah. It's nice, eh? Yeah, I can smell it from here. There's seaweed and umami awesomeness. Yeah.
Wow.
So now you can kind of rest this like that, yeah, and then grab this cupping spoon, and then you want to get right in there in the liquid, and you just sip from the bowl spoon, yeah, and just kind of slurp, and that throws the aromatics back into the back of your throat. And you're going to get a nice strong. Yeah, right? And you just keep on going, and you're just tasting as you go. And it's going to taste different at 2 minutes, and it's going to taste different at 3 minutes, and there's this development of flavor. So you're purposely leaving some leaves in there, but you're just making it, removing enough that you can do this process that you're doing now. and you use boiling water to really enhance any flaws that are in there.
Right.
Which in a matcha like this, which is a competition grade matcha, there's not a lot of anything like in terms of tannin or unpleasantness. It's mostly just all.
It's all good.
It's all good, right? Yeah. Chocolate and sweetness and beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the tencha, and then I'm going to take that same tencha and I'm going to mill it. So.
Wow.
It's nice, hey?
I had no idea. That's an experience.
So this is the single cultivar Samidori by Fujioka. And he's the fellow that we buy from in Wazuka. His family's been growing tea for over 200 years.
Is that what you gave me 2 samples and I sure noticed the difference. One was the competition grade. And it's just like, to a novice even, it's like, yeah.
And then one would have been a bit more bitter forward, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was nothing wrong with it. It was good, but you could tell that the other one was the next level.
And I think that I personally like to drink the next level stuff here and there, or when I'm like having somebody drink matcha for the first time. But if I'm for daily, the organic stuff, for example, which generally Yamaguchi or some of the organic lots from Takaki or even Fujioka are, it's funny, we call it very tea-like.
Yeah, right.
So, because you can really taste a lot of complexity, but you don't get as much of that fat umami, which is brought out in the really specialty selections. So I did 2 grams of tea. I'm going to do a little under 90 grams of water set to 60 degrees centigrade.
You're weighing the water. It's not milliliters.
I'm a big believer in weighing the water. Yeah.
Does all water weigh the same?
At different temperatures, it can change. Right. But, well, no, it weighs the same.
Okay.
But if you're trying to figure that out in terms of volume.
Yeah.
So, for example, if I wanted, what I'm doing right now is 90 mils. 90 mils is, 60 mils would be a quarter cup. So this is a little bit more than a quarter cup. And I like to kind of dial everything in that way. All my teas, I like to say, so how much tea am I using? How much water am I using? And 1 gram and 1 mil are essentially the same thing. And that's what's so helpful. So if somebody says, hey, I want you to use 100 mils, you just put 100 grams.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I love to do that for when I'm learning a new teapot. I always fill it right up on a scale and I figure out what the mass of the water that can fit it in is. And then I like to build a ratio of leaf to tea that I find delicious. Mm-hmm. And then from then on, whenever I use that teapot, I don't have to keep weighing the water because I've already done it, as long as I remember. Right. If I forget, then I'll just do it again.
Yeah.
You know, I know my Gaiwan holds easily with a good fat dose of tea in it, 80 grams of water. So I always, in my head, I'm dialing in 80 grams to whatever. So if I'm using 5 grams, then that's a ratio. 1 gram for every, what does that work out to? 75 would be 1 gram for every 15. A little bit more than that. Anyway, please.
Nicely frothed.
Thank you.
It looks,
shall we show them the froth? Shall we?
It looks like my pond.
Okay. there's the froth.
That.
Okay.
Ooh.
Okay. Yeah? We're doing okay?
Smooth. Nice.
Isn't that interesting though?
The whole setup.
Well, just like drinking the tencha, and before you keep going, try it with some of your figs and see how the dried fruit. Because when we opened up our shop, we would always serve a traditional with a little bit of fig, dried fig, dried apricot actually, but dried fruit. Sometimes dried fig. Yeah, but that was something we always did.
Yeah.
And then, because it does, you know, in the tea ceremony, you always have a small sweet.
Yeah.
But we didn't really want to do sugar.
Yeah.
But
it's condensed. Nice.
And then after some dried fruit, you go back and it transforms the flavor.
Yeah.
Is that nice?
Very nice. Thank you.
And that should give you about 6 hours of fatigue relief and all the good stuff that matcha does for your system. But in terms of just like part of the like enjoying the moment, I'm like kind of looping it into, say, some of the loose teas. I find that for me, what I find so lovely about the cliff teas and about the pu'ers, and I love that process of going through that long journey. Matcha can sometimes feel a little bit too rushed for me now, where I feel like it's over so soon.
Yeah.
You know? But I do like to have an espresso. So for me, matcha and espresso fulfill a very similar role.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, okay, I'm just going to have a quick moment. And I actually find...
It's the same for me. In the afternoon, I got a bunch of work to do. Having a little matcha, it's like, oh, boom.
Yeah, it just gives you that,
that
and nice little spiritual
so
enhancement.
Nice and clean. And it's a nice, long... ride.
And it stays with you.
Super.
Yeah, and it's just something you sort of like hang out with and go through your day. And a friend of ours did a little test where he was having matcha every single morning for 30 days, and it inspired another friend of ours to do the same thing and just like to sort of like internalize and look at what that does for your system. And both of them were just really inspired by how happy it made them feel, because there's like a release of, I guess, alpha waves in your brain scientifically, but maybe it's just, I don't even know what it is, but like I've been actually making
combination. It's the love that the tea makers put into it. It's like everything just comes into it,
and it's very focused.
Yeah,
you know. But I've been doing 2 grams 90 for a long time, but I actually have been preferring now to go back to basics. The hishaku, which is where is my hishaku? Oh, there it is. Perfect. Thank you very much. So the hishaku is a little bamboo cup on a, and you would scoop this, and that 80% full is what you would put over your and that's 60 mils
of water.
And we've been inspired by this for our ratio, but because most of our wholesale customers, do a matcha latte, we find a 2 gram shot tastes way nicer than a 1 gram or 1.5 gram. But 2 scoops of the chashaku, which is this guy, the bamboo teaspoon, 2 of these is roughly 1.5 grams.
Right.
So this ratio is what I've been kind of going back to for my traditionals. And I've been doing the 1.5 gram, 60 mils. And a little hint of bamboo. It's nice. Yeah. It's nice. So yeah, and it's also cool that
I got to get a strainer.
This fits.
Right. Yeah, we got one of those too.
And then you can, and you're good to go. And then if you want to make multiples, they're actually built to balance perfectly like that. So when you're washing, and when you finish, you put it upside down yet?
Right.
Yeah. And then, but when you're making a number of drinks in a row, you put it back here.
Oh,
yeah. Okay, cool. Anyway, so I think that the bamboo adds a hint of something. So anyway, we're kind of running out of time now. I've kept you for a little bit past the hour that I had promised, and I know you got to get back to your island. Your island.
The little one.
It's a little one. And we do hope to see you sooner rather than later on Pender. And my mother-in-law is in town for 3 months, so we're trying to make it happen while she's here, because it'd be lovely to.
Yeah. Just come over to more rural scene.
Really would love to. So, and I know you've been really beautiful in inviting us. Thank you so much.
Don't need much notice.
Do you have any final sort of comments or words for people watching before we end the show today?
Just enjoy your time.
Enjoy your time. All right. And if
before it transforms into something else, and then you'll enjoy that time.
Amazing. And I got to do a little bit of Lester Quitzau promotion. If they want to find your music, what's the best way to do so?
I guess it's the website, lesterq.com.
lesterq.com. All right, lesterq.com. And then are you? And I found you on some streaming services too. And CDs are.
Stream it.
I think you said at your show that CDs make great decorations, but
they have good sound too.
Good. You can also put them into this thing called a CD player.
CD player. It's amazing.
Yeah, it produces music from discs.
Yeah.
It's
I got one album. I think I got to put it on vinyl because it's a good sonic piece of work. So
Okay, well, looking forward to the vinyl.
I'm back into vinyl.
Amazing. I didn't get to hear. There's a story I'll have to ask you about when we see you on Pender. You were going to tell me, and then I stopped you.
Oh, no worries.
Which was your tea moment. What got you into tea? So
right.
we're going to talk about that.
Part two.
Yeah, part two. We're going to figure out what got Lester to what was his tea moment. Okay. Well, thank you so much for watching. You can go to jagasilk.com and have some of the teas that we're having today. We're having the Samidori Single Cultivar by Fujioka. It's sometimes in the rotation, but you can definitely get the Koucha Zairaishu that we spent most of our session drinking. That's available.
Stuff.
It's fun. Really enjoy it, and it has quite an inspiring story for us. We were really involved in some of the harvests one harvest with them, and then we go back regularly and visit with them, and it's just very meaningful tea for us.
Feel the vibe.
Yeah, right? Okay, cool. All right, well, thank you so much, and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day.
Well done, man.
Watch previous JagaVision episodes. We put them up every week, whenever we can anyways. And we have different guests on, all sorts of fun stuff that you really need to check out.